It's that time of the year again. TSN's annual list of the top 50 NHL players will start being unveiled on Monday. A reminder, our list is a projection for the upcoming season. For now, though, we're going to talk about a few big names that didn't crack the list. And guys, the last two Calder winners, Lane Hutson and Connor Bedard, neither of them made the cut. Marty, whose absence is a bigger surprise for you?
Obviously, for me, it's Lane Hutson, right? The fact that he was seventh in points on the defense last year, that he finished the year with 40 points in the last 44 games, the excitement level, the fact that he's only going to get better, and what the responsibilities are going to be for him this year in Montreal. First power play, play a lot of offensive minutes and produce offensively. I think this could be a player that will be 75 to 85 points in a full season next year. So that's crazy to me. That Lane Hutson and the fact that he was very much like Quinn Hughes and Kel McCarr is not on that list. Look, I didn't think he was going to be top 25, but he had to be top 50. So I'm shocked that he's not on the list.
You know what, Marty? You're not wrong, but the bigger surprise for me is Connor Bedard because he's been on this list twice already before. He was on the list prior to ever playing an NHL game. He just snuck in the top 50. And I think last year, a lot of people thought he was going to take that jump, even though the Chicago Blackhawks didn't have enough help around him to help support that. But if you look at what Connor Bedard has done here, his first year he got hurt, he was around a point per game player. He didn't play 82 games, he was in the 60s, but he was still around a point per game. Last year, it dropped off quite significantly because he didn't have the support around him. Now, 3 years into the league, you would think that, okay, even if Chicago didn't move the needle as much around him, he's still primed and ready to make that jump, maybe be an 80-point player, really pop off for a Chicago Blackhawks team that needs him to. But the voters have kind of signaled that they don't think that's going to be the case, and thus Connor Bedard doesn't make the top 50 this year.
Both of you guys played in this league, and both of you know what happens when lists like this come out. In the rooms, guys start talking and notice who's not on the list or who's on the list or where they are on the list. Who do you think reacts better and is more motivated by being snubbed here? Hudson or Bedard, Frankie?
For me, it's going to be Connor Bedard just because there was so much talk about him entering the league and becoming this franchise player, generational player, whatever you want to call it, but he has had to live up to those lofty standards, and it hasn't gone that way. He's been a good player, but good isn't generational. Good isn't franchise, and make no mistake about it, Connor Bedard is good enough, he's skilled enough to achieve that, so I think he looks at this and says, you know what, people might think that this is all I am, and I'm way more than that.
Now, I'm thinking Lane Hutson because he wasn't invited to Team USA's Olympic orientation camp, and he probably thought, oh, I'm going to use that for motivation. Now, if he'd had been on the top 50 here on TSN, maybe he says, see, USA was wrong, and TSN and Marty and those guys are all correct. But now this is twice this summer that people overlook Lane Hutson, and he's going to say, I'm going to show you. So I think this will be that type of year for Lane Hutson. People say, I don't read the paper, I don't look at my phone. No. Lane Hutson is going to know he's not in the top 50, and he's going to want to be top 20 next year, so that's how good he's going to be this season.
We'll see how motivated they are from this. All right, got to ask you guys about another big name that didn't crack the top 50. Just a year ago, Elias Pettersson of the Canucks was number 27. But after last season's huge dip, he's not in the top 50 at all. A lot of questions swirling in Vancouver right now, Frankie. Are you a believer Pettersson can bounce back?
I'm a believer in the bounce back, Gino, but not to the point where we're talking about Elias Pettersson as, an 80 to 90 point player. I think if everything goes well for him, given the season that he had last year with all his struggles, if he can be a 75 point player on a pretty healthy season, I think that's going to be considered a bounce back for him. He dropped off quite a bit last year. Now, where does that put him in regards to the list? I have a lot of good players that I wanted to get onto my top 50 that just couldn't make it. Someone like Dylan Larkin, who I really believe is a true number one center in the NHL. Lucas Raymond, who flies with him. Rupe Hintz. These are guys that are solid and solidified and are going to have great seasons They didn't make this my list anyways. So how does Elias Pettersson, who really has a lot of work to do to catch up, make a top 50 list? I just don't think his play last year warranted thinking that he's going to get back to where he was a couple years ago.
Frankie, I love how positive you are, but I'm not a believer. And why? Because I thought that last year after the Canucks traded JT Miller, that all these distractions were going to go away. Elias Pettersson was going to be able to focus on hockey and really perform at the level that we think he can play. And what did he do? 13 points in 20 games. You multiply that by 4 over an 82 game season. That's 52 points. Like, that's not good enough. And if you're Elias Pettersson, you talk about 75 points. Okay, I would buy that for Elias Pettersson. But I think the max he can get to is about 65. And I would be happy for the Canucks and Elias Pettersson if he got to 65 points. I think we're thinking about 50 to 60 points, and that's not a bounce-back season. That's not a number one center. That's not the money that he's making. So, yeah, after the trade of JT Miller, I thought he's going to bounce back, but that didn't happen. I'm not a believer that it's going to happen this year.
A lot of star power just missing out on this year's list. Beginning on Monday, we start revealing who did make the cut, 10 names at a time.